The telephone number is 503 791. No, 503. I'm sorry. 541 791 8400. Got too many telephone numbers in my head. 541 791 8400. So, Prophet Elijah, are you still there?
Oh, yes, sir. I'm still here.
Okay, so did you have anything else to, before we open the mics and invite other people to have any a discussion of whatever they want to talk about?
No, I sowed the seed for everybody to think about how imperative water is, and you just took it to the point where everybody will have to realize that there are so many people, we don't even have an idea how many people who do not lack water, as they could say. We
Oh,
don't
yeah,
lack water. We don't drink water. We just drink everything except water.
exactly. Yes,
And many people who are listening on the program, they probably know many people who they know that do not lack water.
that's right. And you'd be surprised how many people don't like water. They'll drink anything but water, and then later, and sooner or later, folks, the kidneys will let you know. And it's called. Then they want to hook you up to a machine, and you have to go there like 2 or 3 times a week or something like that. And it's a lot of misery. Don't get into don't fall into these traps. That's why this information is here, so you do not fall into these traps and become a victim. And Prophet Elijah's telephone number, folks, because he's my prayer partner, and he should be your prayer partner out as well. And Prophet Elijah's telephone number is 334 868 3881. 334 868 3881. Prophet Elijah will be looking forward to your closing prayer at the end of the broadcast. Folks, don't miss it. If you leave, please come back so you don't miss Prophet Elijah's prayer, closing prayer. And then we open up all the microphones and we all praise the Most High together, and it's a glorious thing. Thank you, Prophet Elijah. You could
Oh, you're welcome.
stay contagiously, limitlessly blessed, okay?
I'm spreading it as much as I can spread it.
Okay. All right.
Hey, I'm spreading enough to it. It would drive the coronavirus on out of existence.
All praises to the Most High. I agree. Amen. Okay, folks, that's a nice visit, as we always do have with Prophet Elijah. Isn't it so important to understand how important that water is, and how interesting that water is? It has a like a mind of its own. It can tell if you yell at it. It can tell if you don't. We have an open mic there in area code 919817. Please let me know what it is you'd like to talk about.
Hey, Shalom, Doc. I think you answered my question. I was going to ask you, what can a 40-year-old do to maintain a strong bladder and won't have to worry about as he gets older leaking urine and having to pay a urologist a visit. What type of herbs? But I think you answered it. But
I,
if
I,
anything else would be much appreciated.
I sure did. Just go on that website, herbalhealthreview.com, and that free report there on that free website, and click on common conditions, and then go down to kidney bladder, and you'll be looking at that report, and it'll make it easy to get that marshmallow root tea, that number 1246 kidney bladder herbal formula, and that Shazandra berry, all about 30 drops 3 times a day. And within 3-4 days, if somebody's wearing a diaper, they don't have to wear a diaper anymore. So yes, and there are people who have been on dialysis, and it took them up to 6 months, to continue to get beyond that. Then they came off of dialysis. So yes, the doctors will tell you, oh, you're going to be on there here for life and so forth. Yeah, if you do it their way, you will. If you do it our way, you know what? The Most High does the healing. We just do the work here. Okay?
Thank you, Doc.
All right. Okay, so I'm looking at open microphones here. I see Sister Felicia. Uh, did you have a question, a topic, a suggestion?
Shalom.
Shalom, my dear Sister Felicia.
Shalom, Dr. Truman.
What's
Yes, hope all is well with you today. Beautiful prayer. I just have a question for you today.
yes?
My brother-in-law called me today and told me my sister had a stroke last night, and she's doing well, thanks to the Most High. But I wanted to find out if there was any way, any herb that you have, that will help her after having that stroke.
Yes, and even more importantly, it can help people if they get on this, if they even fear they may have a stroke. Then they would go to that herbalhealthreview.com and they would click on common conditions and then click on stroke. And when they, that will lay all the information out for them, because a stroke happens. I'm going to go have to close the mic. Okay, there we go. All right, now close the mic. And I'm then going to go back over here to stroke. Because a stroke happens when there's a disruption. And I got an open mic. I got another open mic. I'm going to have to go find it. And there we go. We'll close that mic. Okay, we'll come back and open that mic afterwards. But we're going to describe a stroke. We're going to answer her question completely. And first of all, what is a stroke? It happens when there's a disruption of blood flow and oxygen to the brain. And there are different types of stroke, each defined by its root cause. And regardless of the root cause, stroke is an extremely serious condition that requires immediate attention. The lack of blood flow and or starvation of blood will undoubtedly lead to the lack of oxygen to the brain. The toxins and the obstructions in the blood take up available room for oxygen and vital life, the vital life essence. And when oxygen is cut off at the blood-brain barrier, stroke is the result. So that defines a stroke. So because oxygen, it's the oxygen is, and that's why things like hydrogen peroxide, food grade, delivers oxygen to every cell in your body. And that's why it does such wonderful things. But because oxygen is the primary fuel for the brain, a lack of it will to the brain will seriously impair the brain, resulting in neurological damage, which is where the paralysis and speech defects come into play. So the causes and the factors, well, strokes are primarily caused by lack of starvation of oxygen to the brain. But there are many reasons why this can happen, which is why there are different types of strokes. You can have ischemic strokes. Ischemic strokes are due to blocked arteries in the brain. The types of ischemic stroke include thrombotic, that's thrombotic stroke, which is a blockage caused by blood clots, and embolic stroke, blood clot breaks away. So And then you would go over to the clogged arteries report. From this report, you'd go to the clogged arteries report, if that was the case, if you had that type of a stroke, and you would use the enzymes, nattokinase, that are listed in that report, as well as what's listed in this report. But the nattokinase will break up the clots. And doctors don't have anything better than that. And your own body makes plasma, which is 4 times weaker than nattokinase, the enzyme that comes from miso. You can get it in a capsule, and it breaks up these clogged arteries, and because some people have clogged veins in their legs. Well, this breaks up the clots. It's called nattokinase. It's an enzyme, and it's under clogged arteries. Now let's get back to the stroke report. There's also, besides the ischemic strokes, there's a hemorrhagic strokes, and those strokes are caused by blood vessels of the arteries that leak or rupture. The types of hemorrhage stroke are they're interreactable. They're hemorrhages, and this blood vessel breaks and spills blood onto the brain, and then you have that's a hemorrhage, and you have bleeding in the brain surface, and it collects between the skull and the brain, and it's then you have the transient ischemic attack. A transient ischemic attack. This is a third type, which is known as the mini strokes that last about 5 minutes or less. These are transient ischemic attacks, and they're less damaging than the ischemic stroke or the brain hemorrhage, but can be an indication of a larger stroke lingering around the corner. So now you know the different types of strokes and the symptoms of these kinds of strokes would be difficulty talking or understanding, numbness on one side, extreme intense painful headache, trouble seeing out of one or both eyes. Dietary intervention, well, what do you want to do there is the greatest dietary culprit in stroke causations was meat and dairy products. 2 of the things that we really need to get out of our diet is meat and dairy products, except butter. Butter's good for you. And if you have to have meat, well, let's go for fish. Let's go for chicken, turkey. Let's get things that and eat in moderation. But red meat is really, it's not good for the planet, and it's not good for you. And the dairy products aren't good for the cows, and they're not good for you, and they're not good for the planet. But consumption of these products, red meat and dairy products, well, in excess regularly in your diet, well, causes the production of mucus and plaque and other hardened substances that obstruct the arterial blood flow throughout the body in general, and in the brain particularly, and resulting in ischemia. Now, so a make lifestyle, a diet system would be a perfect diet system to avoid stroke. And that report is on herbalhealthreview.com. It's under Make Lifestyle Changes on the sidebar under Miscellaneous. And that diet would be for people who would want to avoid a stroke. And then you want to know about the herb periwinkle, because the greatest single herb you can take for the prevention and remedy of stroke is the herb periwinkle. Periwinkle. It's also called Vinca major. That's the botanical name. Vinca major. It's a plant that naturally improves the blood flow to the brain area. Periwinkle. It helps to arrest all excess bleeding disorders and is useful for hemorrhaging and excess menstrual flow, nosebleeds, bleeding gums, and all other kinds of bleeding disorders, hemorrhaging. Periwinkle. Other beneficial herbs for stroke prevention and remedy include cayenne pepper, ginger root, cinnamon bark, butcher's broom, gotu kola, and cranesbill, and golden seal root, and blessed thistle, and ginkgo biloba, and mullein leaf. And they're all listed here under the stroke report. Now, all circulatory enhancing herbs will help prevent or remedy a stroke. Stroke is categorically a circulatory disease. And the circulation herbal formula that's called circulation is number 1099. And that's the herbal formula for circulation. So there are herbs and herbal formulations that I've created over the decades, but that formulation, circulation, it is number 1099. It's got ginkgo biloba in it, butcher's broom, witch hazel, garlic, ginger, prickly ash bark, and cayenne. And if you needed, and again, so if you're taking the periwinkle and you're taking the circulation formula, you got a pretty good combination of circulatory herbs. And if there's a clogged artery, you get over to that clogged arteries report, and you take that nattokinase. But calcium is, you want to make sure you're getting your calcium and magnesium, because that's very important in rectifying all circulatory diseases and disorders, including stroke. You want to make sure you're getting your calcium. And when you eat, and you got to balance it with magnesium. And it's usually you can get calcium and magnesium together in a balance. It'll tell you to take about 3 tablets at night, because that's the best time to take your calcium is in the evening time. And you can take it with a meal or after a meal, either way. But calcium is the most alkaline mineral in the mineral family. It's alkaline. and alkaline defeats disease. Disease always comes with too much acid, and you're too acidic. And calcium is alkaline. And it helps to counteract acidity in the body. And it helps to bust up the accumulated debris that stick to the arterial walls and thus open clogged and obstructed arteries. And there's a secret to calcium, and that's betaine HCl, because the calcium can't get through the tissues. But if you take the betaine HCl, it's an enzyme that unlocks the pepsin, and it has pepsin in it, but it's pepsinogen, and the HCl turns to pepsinogen turns to pepsin, and you're digesting and breaking down the calcium and getting it through the tissues. People that are losing their hair, people that have got osteoporosis, they need the betaine HCl so the calcium can get through the tissues. It's not getting there. It's not getting to the bones. Now getting to the hair, the fingernails, you need that betaine, one with each meal. Then take your calcium, and now you're going to get it. Now you're getting what you're trying to get because it's getting locked up in the tissues. Anyway, that's the thing about calcium. And there is a herbal formulation if you're having a tough time breaking down or digesting and receiving your calcium. I made an herbal formula called Bones, Hair, and Nails. And it's made with some of the herbs we've just been talking about. It's made with oat straw. It's oat straw leaf and shaved grass, which is also called horsetail. It's a leaf. Baharenga Raja, which is working on the liver, but it's helping to break down that calcium. Burdock root, which is loaded with calcium and is a blood cleaner and an arthritis fighter. And slippery elm bark, which is just good for everything. Lobelia leaf is the general. It leads all the other herbs to go where they're supposed to go. It's the general. They ought to call it general lobelia, but they don't. Just call it the lobelia leaf. But fulvic acid, now that's all ancient vitamins and minerals and nutrients from fulvic acid. And then there's it's also called shilajit. Besides fulvic acid, it's got a couple of different names. One of them is shilajit. The other, it's an East Indian name. And then everybody else calls it fulvic acid. But that's it. That's what's in all of that is in a formulation called Bones, Hair, and Teeth, so that you would be able to easily absorb your calcium if you're having trouble absorbing it. And below that, it talks about the betaine HCl because it's incredible. And then there's a heavy metal detox. If you've got stroke, let's pull the heavy metals out of your body with a heavy metal detox. Number 1228. Number 1228 heavy metal detox. It's got herbs like chlorella, garlic, coriander, cilantro. All of these just absorb it. You can take a handful of cilantro and you can take heavy metals and water that has too many heavy metals in it. You can pour it over a handful of cilantro through a strainer. The cilantro will absorb all the heavy metals and all you'll get is the water. It's a water purifier. A handful of cilantro. So these are stroke. And there's that hydrogen peroxide, food grade, that's going to oxygenate every cell in your body. And if you have a stroke, it's listed there. There's boswellia, frankincense, which helps to release toxins. It's good in aromatherapy. It's good for boswellia, frankincense. It's used in arthritis, bronchitis, cuts and wounds, facial care, pain relief, and rheumatoid arthritis. So but it's used for a lot more. It's an incredible herb. It's a biblical herb, frankincense. Now, there's an oil. And you can get boswellia or frankincense oil, which can be used externally for stress, anxiety, pain, inflammation, and it's also an immune booster. Turmeric, one of the greatest herbs on the planet, is anti-inflammatory. And if you got circulatory problems, you got inflammation, and these are the things that are going to help to reduce it. That boswellia, the boswellia oil, the turmeric, colloidal silver water is going to help because it's going to clean up all viruses, funguses, and bacteria in your body. And then as long as you're cleansing and detoxifying and drinking enough water and able to clean out well enough, you'll get rid of all these things. And if you're taking a heavy metal detox, it'll help you to detoxify. And there's all those super green foods. There's pregnenolone, which it increases your resistance to stress. A lot of people are under stress. It improves resistance to stress. It aids the adrenal exhaustion, so you're not exhausted anymore. It gets rid of fatigue. A lot of people say, I'm fatigued, I'm exhausted. Pregnenolone. It's a hormone. It balances the moods. It enhances the memory. It improves the nerve impulse transmission. And it helps improve spinal cord injuries. Pretty profound hormonal substance. And although everything isn't for everyone, anything you start new, try a little bit of it. Make sure it agrees with you and you agree with it. Then bring it on up to the dosage levels that it says on the bottle. So don't just start taking the maximum dose immediately. Step into anything that you haven't taken before cautiously. And then work with people like Brittany out there at Health and Herbs. Work along with her, because she'll make sure you get the right products, and she'll make sure you get the right answers. She'll know when to discontinue things. She'll know when to help you to get something else. So it's very important you don't try to do things all alone. You don't have to be alone. Then if you can't reach her, like she's overwhelmed right now, and I'm overwhelmed, but I'm taking all the emergency calls that I possibly can, and there's a lot of them, and I'm continuing to answer those member intake forms as fast as I can get them, and I'm behind a few, but I'm going to catch up this weekend. I'm going to catch up with my member intake forms this weekend, but I've been a bit overwhelmed both over the phone and the member intake forms. It's 7 days a week, 10 hours a day. That's what it takes to do this. And mainly I'm helping the poor who do not give me a donation. I really need your donations. They're very, very, very important so that I could grow, so that I continue to just keep up with the pace of things here. I still can't afford an assistant. I'm still all alone. And Brittany's in the same boat. She needs an assistant. We really need more help here to help us help other people, because most of this work is no charge, no donation, no charge for Brittany, no donation for me. So it's a labor of love for Jesus Christ. We do all we can, but folks, if you know somebody who cares about anybody, help us help other people. We're overwhelmed. We're at capacity. We've been at capacity for decades trying to do this and keep up with it. But anyway, things like that multiple vitamin Intramax. You need things to strengthen the overall body. Everybody needs that acidophilus powder or acidophilus capsules. And I think they don't have the powder anymore, but you can get the capsules. And it's listed under that Make Lifestyle Changes report. If your immune system is very, very low, one of the greatest immune system boosters is called colostrum. It's a very concentrated immune system builder. It is a mammary secretion produced just prior to birth, and it is released into the mother's milk right after birth. And it contains protective antibodies and many nutrients. It will build you up. So you would need somebody, if somebody's weak, give them some colostrum. It's an immune booster. And then there's ginseng. That's another overall tonic and booster for the body. Usually used after making a comeback. If you just really go into the nutrition, doing everything you can, and then take some ginseng. It's like rocket fuel. It really helps once you get started. It gives you more momentum. And cleansing and detoxifying, there is a cleansing liquid called 1078 number CAC, which will clean the blood. It'll clean out the colon. It'll clean up that liver and give you new liver cells by 60% every 120 days. So that's how you do this, is you clean up things and so forth, then you get rid of them. You helping the colon keeping every bowel movement so soft it breaks up in a cloud. And that's with that CAC liquid. And then there's the fiber that mops everything up so that you don't get a headache, so you don't reabsorb any of the bad things. It's called Truman's fiber, and I invented that decades ago. And it's a fiber with bentonite clay. The bentonite clay is such a powerful material that it will get rid of MRSA, MRSA. Nothing will kill MRSA, bentonite clay will. Doctors don't think it can be killed. They don't know about bentonite clay that's in that fiber that mops up everything and cleans up everything, absorbs all the bad things, and takes it out of your body. That's that colon and liver cleansing liquid and that fiber. Colon and liver cleansing liquid is number 1078. The fiber is number 4837. Then there's the gland rejuvenator, because a lot of people have glandular disorders, and there's a gland tonic, where I combine 8 separate formulations together to create one formula that you could just take all at one time, that tuned up the entire glandular system, including the kidneys, and is fantastic for weight loss, because a lot of people can't lose weight because their glands aren't working right. But it's all of those things in that make lifestyle changes. It's that B12 and folic acid drops. It's that betaine HCl to break down that calcium. It's the vitamin C every 4 hours. And if you want, and vitamin C is one of the first lines of defense that will kill any kind of virus. But you got to get the dosage up there. I'm taking 3,000 milligrams every 4 hours to keep my immune system way up there, because I'm one of the targets of this virus, because I'm old. I'll be 80 years old in 8 months. So I'm a target. I'm in lockdown right now. I'm on my second day of lockdown of 14 days. And if I leave this building, it's $1 million fine if they see me on the street. Anyway, vitamin C, vitamin D. Everyone, please, everyone, take vitamin D. Get those vitamin D number 2637. And take that vitamin D according to how it says how to take it in the Make Lifestyle Changes report. And vitamin E every other day. Take 400 IUs. It'll thin your blood. Otherwise, if you're taking a blood thinner, take vitamin E every day, 400 IUs, and you don't need the blood thinner, because it is a blood thinner. If you're ever going to have an operation, surgery, you stop taking vitamin E because you don't want your blood to be too thin. You don't want to bleed out. So vitamin E will thin the blood every other day if you don't need a blood thinner. If you need a blood thinner, every day, 400 IUs of vitamin E. Omega-3 fatty acids, yes. Let's get those oils in there. You need water to lubricate, to nourish and feed the skin, and you need the oils to lubricate it. Everybody who looks at me and they see that I have no wrinkles, they say, what's going on? It's the omega-3 fatty acids. Let's get that olive oil. Let's get that coconut oil and those omega-3 fatty acids. Let's get them into the diet. Then you're lubricated from the inside and the outside. So these are the things. And guess what? And some of the supplements you want, it's talking about ashwagandha root, because it may prevent and treat a stroke, according to a 2015 study. The study said it may prevent or treat a stroke. Ashwagandha, we talked about it earlier. It keeps coming back. It's trying to remind you need to have that in your medicine cabinet. Bilberry leaf, that's for your eyesight and your blood sugar level and cholesterol. Bilberry leaf, eyesight, cholesterol, lowering blood sugar. Bilberry leaf. Garlic, lots of garlic. Eat garlic and ginger in anything, on everything, plenty of it. And then ginseng, it will help you improve your memory. Gotu-kola, especially, going to clear the mind. Turmeric is going to get rid of cholesterol level problems, and it's going to prevent blockages in the arteries. It's going to reduce inflammation, and it is a cancer fighter. Turmeric. So there's just so many things here. One of the most important minerals that fights cancers is selenium. And vitamin D that vitamin D we talked about earlier and we talk about often, vitamin D will slash the risk of cancer by 77%. B12 and folic acid drop. That's the first thing. That's the second thing that's listed in the Make Lifestyle Changes report. Will rejuvenate every cell in your body. Will help to get rid of anemia. B12 folic acid drops. So it's all listed here in the stroke report. And it talks about all of these things. Milk thistle seed that gives you a brand new liver. You should have plenty of milk thistle seed powder, milk thistle seed extract in your diet. It will give you a brand new liver by 60% every 120 days. It will protect your liver from toxins and poisons, and you will be a survivor. It actually will protect your liver, and you will not ingest poison. If you ingested it, it's going to bounce right off of it, and it's going to try to get out of the body. Milk thistle seed, I could do a whole hour just on milk thistle seed extract and milk thistle seed powder. That's why the milk thistle seed powder is part of the power drink that I have every day. And the milk thistle seed extract, that's for people who want to have a strong, powerful liver on into their old age. That's it. That's stroke. And I just described it just about as much as I possibly could. That really should give you how to deal with. Make sure you're getting that CoQ10, 200 milligrams, because it oxygenates every cell in the body, just like that superoxide. No, just like the peroxide, the food grade hydrogen peroxide. Oxygenate every cell. So is the coenzyme Q10. 200 to 400 IUs every day. 200 twice a day really is oxygenating a lot of things. That takes care of that. And now I'm looking for an open microphone. I'm going to go down here. I'm going to unmute the microphone out there for Brother Al in Arkansas. Brother Al, how are you today?
Hey, I'm doing great. Let me step away from this road a little bit so you don't get trucks driving by. Walking down here. It's been a great. It's been a great show today. I really enjoyed listening to it. You said a lot that I was going to bring up anyway. When Prophet Elijah brought up water, I think that's a great topic because I've learned a little bit about it, and through my years hitting this, I learned. It was first introduced me Cannigan water, alkalizing water, and I learned that you can put lemons in water and keep alkaline. But there's machines out there, very expensive. It uses electrolysis and it brings up the pH. But one of the things I was going to add, what Prophet Elijah said about water problems is most people, because they're so dehydrated, they think they're hungry, and they're not hungry at all. They're thirsty. They start eating. And it brings out overeating and all that stuff, and constipation and stuff's not flowing right. And the other thing, you touched on it the other week about distilled water, and I was talking about adding the trace minerals to it. And I heard you talk about calcium. That was pretty good. I've used Amzimite in the past. Probably go back to doing it. I was really impressed with the Amzimite. I also used it in my garden. And the other thing I was going to ask you is, I remember we were talking about food grade hydrogen peroxide. I was going to bring up oxygenating the water as well, but you already covered that. So, what I was going to ask you though, you said you had a mix that you did outside to grow plants. Would you mind saying what that is again?
Again, that would be with hydrogen peroxide, and you would use a small amount and spray it onto your plants, and that's one of the growing techniques for having a really blooming, gorgeous garden is learning about
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
You were talking about adding it to the water. I think it was like an ounce to a gallon or something like that. What you're talking about, I've seen it like probably 2008, using it for, there's a book written by there's several books written by Russ Swain, and it's hydrogen peroxide in mushroom growing. And it's fantastic, but you can't start spores because it's peroxide that kills them. It has to be from an algae cutting.
Yes.
But I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I just wanted to verify what you were saying. It's been around for a good bit, and just like using it for water purification. And they don't tell you about that, how to purify water. And that was the other thing I was going to say. I want to ask for your mix again, how much to a gallon of water. But what I was also going to say, what was on my mind, is a lot of cleaning up this water. You see people pushing these water filters, and to the life of me, I don't see how any kind of water filter can filter out a virus, because the only way I know to get rid of a virus is to distill it. And I know that they say you can add bleach, but you're chlorinating your water. They're saying you could add bleach, so I guess you can bleach the water first and pour it through a filter. But other than that, I heard you say take out heavy metals with the cilantro, but do you know of any way to kill the virus other than what I mentioned?
Well,
and adding trace minerals back to the distilled water?
and you can get those trace minerals, through Himalayan pink salt and so forth. But hydrogen peroxide has been used for pest control, treating root rot, pre-treating the seeds, a foliar spray to kill fungus. It's used for the infection prevention on damaged trees. And you take about a 3% solution and add a teaspoon per cup of water to spray in a spray bottle, and you would mist the plant. And that's how that's used. And it's that same amount for pre-treating seeds, to control fungal infections. And for plants with fungal infections, use 1 tablespoon per cup of water. The solution can be made up and stored for future use, but you'd be sure to store it in a cool, dark place like a refrigerator. And it might be more economical to purchase the 35% hydrogen peroxide and mix 1 part of hydrogen peroxide to 10 parts of water. This is 1 cup per 4 squeet. This is 1 cup per 4 square feet, which is a half square. Yeah, and that's how you make your mix on that. So did that answer your question?
Oh, yes. I really appreciate you going over that. And once again, like you said, we are talking food grade hydrogen peroxide with no compounds and all that.
Absolutely.
I just want to verify that for somebody else.
Absolutely. And there's only one place I know where you can get hydrogen peroxide food grade that is good for human use, good for plant use, and that has no adulterants, nothing but the 35% food grade hydrogen peroxide, and that's from Health and Herbs, and their phone number is 541-791-8400.